Hello, what's going on, people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, Jan. It's your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. Really do hope that. Welcome back to the Stamford Bridge studio, here outside Stamford Bridge. Welcome back to Chelsea News. Of course, the daily series, mate, here on this channel, where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea across the headlines in Europe, man. I give you my opinion on it. I ask for yours. We have a lovely time together. Today we're citing the Evening Standard, an article from Nizar Kinsella talking about Jorginho's demands, and we're jumping into an article from the Express about strikers. Jonathan David. What's the situation with good finisher Aubameyang, but does he suit Graham Potter Aubameyang? Does Aubameyang want a striker as soon as January? Ooh la la. Interesting stuff. We will, of course, jump into both articles together. So, housework, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for dropping a like. Come on, boys, you've been slacking, and every time I say this, we get more likes. If I ever go at you, I feel like your mother. Like the video, mate. Well, not that your mother would call you mate, or maybe she does. I don't know what I'm saying. Please like the video. You're welcome to subscribe, and should you choose to do so, hit that sweet, sweet bell. Oh, hold on. Sweet, sweet bell, baby. You just can't always win. You can't always have it, and that's fine. Look, we're going to talk about Jonathan David and a sensational potential January transfer, so keep it locked for that. Hold tight for that. But first off, let's jump into Nizar Kinsella's article on the Standard Sport and hear what's going on about Jorginho, because we spoke about this yesterday. Kante maybe being released on a free, maybe extending Jorginho, largely for the vibes, but also as a guy who's seemingly not injured ever and looks like he could be useful for Potter. A guy that can put his foot on the ball and say to everyone, calm down, bruv. Granted, under Tuchel in the latter stages, Jorginho looked exposed. And not... I wish I'd thought of this line, or I had that picture of Jorginho on the beach in his tiny little, Speedos when he looks really, skinny next to that bird. If you've seen that photo, you know what I'm talking about. And I could have made a really funny overlay joke there, not this kind of exposed. Anyway, at the end of Tuchel's tenure, he was looking exposed. In transition, people were just dribbling and running past him. But maybe that's not the case with Graham Potter. And maybe it makes sense to extend Jorginho. Let's read, shall we? Chelsea make Jorginho contract offer, but midfielder is seeking a pay rise as negotiations continue. Before we get into this, look, don't beef Jorginho for wanting a pay rise, because he joined us. This is the contract he joined us on from Napoli. Granted, City were looking at him, but this is before the Europa League win, this is before the Champions League win, and him as a player, this is before the European Championships win. So the dude, and third in Ballon d'Or, by the way, whether you agree with that or not, is up to you. What I'm saying is, this geezer's stock has gone up, up, up. Granted, he would have wished this came a couple years earlier, before he was in his 30s, but, I dig it, man. I dig it. You could probably earn a lot of money in PSG or something, or whatever. Chelsea midfielder Jorginho has been unable to find an agreement over a new contract in early negotiations with the club. I think early negotiations is the initial process, because this is not early negotiations in terms of renewing. Because sometimes you do that earlier, don't you, rather than the final few months. Because, of course, in January, he could start talking to other clubs. The 30-year-old vice-captain has been presented with initial terms on an extended deal that would keep his wages similar to 120k a week. Yeah, probably bonuses as well. Todd Bowley, Clear Lake, the new ownership, they love doing the bonuses and incentives in the contracts and the deals, which kind of makes a lot of sense, and I like it. However, the Italy international has asked for a pay rise that would see his salary rise in line with Cesar Azpilicueta, who's recently signed a new £150,000 a week deal. He is the captain, though, but Jorginho's the vice-captain, and he's a little bit younger than Azpilicueta. It's interesting, though. Azpi's a bit more... Well, he's way more of a legend than Jorginho, so it might be hard to demand parity. But then again, I don't know. Like fellow midfielder N'Golo Kante, Jorginho will see his current contract expire in 2023. He will be free to talk to foreign clubs from January, like I said, over a potential free transfer next summer. Both Jorginho and Kante would prefer to stay at Stamford Bridge rather than look for new clubs, but want to be seen as important senior players. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, Chelsea have loads of midfielders, with Ruben Loftus-Cheek looking important again, with Conor Gallagher coming back, with Carney Chukwuemeka. Apparently that's how you say it, Chukwuemeka, rather than Chukwuemeka. He's obviously going to be an important player. Cesare Casadei is doing bits in the development squad and will look to hopefully break through. You know, Bill Gilmore buyback maybe, and Purdue loan yet again. Chelsea looking at what's his face from Ajax, the CDM. Midfielders all over the gaff. So it just seems so unlikely that we renew both. And if we let both go, I don't think it'll be the end of the world, provided we, get a senior player in. It's very interesting. The discussions come amid another injury setback for Kante, whose injury, hamstring complaint, will now keep him out after the World Cup. It's sad for him, it genuinely is. The new Bowley Clearlake ownership regime at Chelsea are currently prioritising the duo's renewal talks, so they do want to renew both, just probably for not much money. With failure to keep the senior midfielders set to influence the transfer market activity. Well, as in, if you don't renew either of them, fair enough, that's not on the plan, but it's not like a travesty. They're both in their 30s, and they both want too much money. One of them's never fit. C'est la vie, mon frère. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. But it's interesting to see that ideally, if they could, they would renew them both. They'd give Jorginho 120k a week. Kante, he's on 280 or 90k a week. They wouldn't give him a sniff of that. They'd be like, maybe they'd offer him 200k a week for what he represents, maybe a bit less, because it is N'Golo Kante. And if they think he's going to be fit, and they think he's going to, have an influence and get back in, the medical team think, yeah, we can get this guy playing 45 games a season. Not like the 60 or 65 that's available to Chelsea, but the 40, and you can choose him in big games. They'd still probably play a fair decent amount, but they have to be convinced of that. Anyway, let's talk about the sexy stuff and move on to centre forward strikers. So, interesting striker situation at Chelsea. Kai Havertz, not really a centre forward, he's sort of a second striker, or a number 10 or a cam, or running into their space. Aroma, not aroma as in smelling, a Roma, as in he roams about. Let's all agree, Kai Havertz is a very good player, but probably shouldn't really be seen as a conventional 9. Therefore, Chelsea have 2. We have Armando Broja, who looks like a really high-octane, useful tool in the kind of a Conor Gallagher mould, largely off the bench, but deserves a chance to start every now and again. Will be big for Chelsea, is of course still very young. And then you've got Aubameyang, an elite finisher. And looks like, I've said recently, and I stand by this, looks like he'll score more goals in the Champions League, maybe, than the Premier League. Now, Aubameyang doesn't pass very well. He never has. He obviously had a bit of a rick in him the other day against, who do we play in the Premier? Aston Villa. He didn't look good there. In fact, he had a terrible game all round. He's a great finisher, and a manager like Graham Potter will be like, his biggest frustration in top-flight managerial, in his experience, is obviously finishes. His Brighton side created loads of expected goals, but no one's had to finish it off. So he would appreciate that Aubameyang brings that. But Obama Bloodclot Jan is also 33 years old. And apparently Chelsea, as soon as, Lukaku's out of the picture. And apparently as soon as January, Chelsea could buy a striker. And the reports are talking about Jonathan David. So we're jumping into an article now by Charlie Parker Turner. Chelsea boss Graham Potter identifies Aubameyang partner in crime as January move planned. Is it a partner? Or is it a starter and you keep Mason Mount and someone else in behind, Sterling or whatever? A lot of people are a bit pissed off with Sterling, but we'll leave that for another day. Right, so let's read it into this article and see what it's saying. Chelsea boss Graham Potter has identified Lille star Jonathan David as an ideal candidate to lead his line at Stamford Bridge, according to reports. The Blues are in the market for a centre-forward in the January transfer market in a bid to find a strike partner for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Interesting. So it really is saying strike partner. Maybe it'll be Aubameyang, Jonathan David, and money Messi Mount in behind. Who knows? Right, so after joining in the dying embers of the summer transfer window, Aubameyang has been a key player for Chelsea in all competitions since his arrival. Still discounting the latest stink. I've never said Aubameyang's bad. He did just drop a stinker at the Villa. The former Arsenal star has been a focal point in their attack and scored 3 in 6 for the club. But he actually scored 3 in 4. You know, up until last game, the momentum was there. Though at 33 years old, the Gabon international is not a long-term option for Potter. Thus, the Blues are keen to find an Aubameyang strike partner for the coming campaign. Okay, again, to reiterate before we move on to the links here. Again, Kai Havertz, he can play just in behind, but I do think he's better from deep. You know, many of you will be saying Breuer, and why not? Great player, but I feel like he's a bit more, I don't know. I understand why there could be a move for someone that's just going to start and score goals and, you know, really, like, while the momentum's with Chelsea, the ownership, if they do want to spend all this money, keep the foot pressed down on the gas and, you know, bring in someone else who Potter says, yeah, this is going to suit my vibes. So according to Jeunes Footeux, I mean, I'm guessing this is a French publication. Let's just confirm. Yeah, it is. Of course, Jonathan David plays for Lille. He's won the Ligue with Lille, but he's a Canadian international. Potter has ticked the name of David on his shortlist, and the Canada international is thriving in Ligue 1 currently, and aged 22 has the potential to become one of Europe's most lethal finishes if he can continue to develop. Was that a year older than Armando Breuer? Imagine that strike partnership. Breuer and David. Ooh, so this is talking about the strike partner for Aubameyang, but I'm thinking ahead. Man. David has scored 9 and assisted 2 in 11 league appearances for Lille this season. So he's got 11 goal involvements in 11 games for Lille. That is very good. With the arrival of manager Paulo Fonseca having a significant impact on his performances, the forward's contract at the Stade Pierre-Mauroy expires in 2025, meaning that this side are in no rush to part ways with their top scorer. I wonder what their financial situation is like at the moment. According to Transfermarkt, David is worth £40.5 million sterling, and the transfer market could demand a fee in far excess of that figure. I mean, they would, absolutely, especially considering the circumstances. However, that is unlikely to prove an issue for Chelsea, given that Todd Boehly is desperate to invest further in the squad and is willing to back Potter throughout the upcoming transfer windows so that he can build a team capable of winning trophies. We love it! You killed the man, but not the idea. However, Chelsea don't give a crap because they spend loads of money at the moment. You pretty much could have wrote that. It's not finished, but let's quickly read this. Chelsea have gained some momentum since Potter's arrival and now sit fourth, 8 points off the leader with a game in hand. After their latest victory, it says a comfortable 2-win away at struggling Villa. That's not true. It was not a comfortable win, and you and I know that. Potter said, I think it's a collective desire to do the ugly stuff in the game, a collective idea to help each other out and be together. If we have to suffer, we will suffer. All right, Conte. We have humility, and we know sometimes the opponent can get the better of us. That's normal in football. But you can see the players running. You can, that's true. And you can see players getting bodies in the way to block shots. Lovely stuff. That's an important part of the game because we've got quality in the group. Yes, sir. All right, then. Jonathan David, Canadian international. You know, we're going international here. I'm capturing that Canadian audience. Clever from Todd Boehly, but he is an elite striker that's been linked for a couple of years to Chelsea teams. I am just going to quickly look at something and tell you how I can't type. Fortunately, Google corrects your spelling mistakes. So yes, he's got 9 goals and 2 assists in 11 matches this season. Like I said, 11 in 11. But Last season, he got 15 goals. So he got basically 1 in 2, which is pretty good. He's got a goal, and then in the season before, he got 13 goals. So he was recognised this season before, 13 goals for Lille, and then he got 15 goals, and he's on course to way surpass that. So he looks like he's peaking the 22-year-old, who of course is very young, just under 6 foot tall, or around 6 foot tall. And he can play. He's sort of an auxiliary forward. He can play as a cam, but he plays a lot as a striker, and he wears the number 9 for Lille. Kind of sounds like the kind of player that Potter might like. He likes these like midfielders all over the gaff, including obviously Nkunku matches that profile as well. Christopher Nkunku is set to join Chelsea in the summer, but do we get Jonathan David in January? That's what this is suggesting anyway. Really, really interesting. I want to hear what you guys think, so please do comment down below, and thank you for liking and subscribing, and the continued support on the channel, because that's really nice, and I hear it, I read it, I appreciate you guys, and thank you for sticking with me and sticking with football therapy. I look forward to seeing you, man, and women, very, very soon. Take care. Peace.